spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Hello and welcome to Amazing Spider-Man Classics. This is episode 13 of the show. My name is John Wilson, and with me we have Donovan Grant.
Hiya.
And Mr. Bertoni.
Oh, when he calls me Mr. Bertoni, I feel 100 years old.
And also want to just give a little shout out to Mr. Brad Douglas, because he said once that if we ever got Steve Ditko on the show before he did, that he would have a problem. Well, now after having gotten an email from Stan Lee, we do have with us in the studio Mr. Steve Lacey!
Hi!
Of the World of Superman blog from the UK. Hello, Mr. Stephen.
Hello, Mr. John.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us this month.
Thank you for having me.
Stephen, what time is it where you live right now?
It is exactly 6 minutes past 3 in the morning.
Oh, God.
Hey, that's the time it's going to be in America when we finish recording this.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been up for 20 hours and 36 minutes.
Stephen was ever so gracious to join us, even though we're doing a late night recording for us. It is early morning recording for him, and this is going to be lots and lots of fun. So if he gets punchy by the third episode this month, you know why. So we're not going to waste any time. We do have some emails, an email, and some iTunes reviews that we want to read. So first of all, Mr. Tyler Crone sent us an audio email. I should clarify that he does apologize for the audio quality because there was a problem with the mic and he had to amplify it digitally. So let's see how it goes.
Hello, my name is Michelle Crone, and I'm Tyler Crone's sister. I'm begging you please to stop podcasting. Recently, while driving home, my brother was listening to your podcast, Amazing Spider-Man Classics, through his headphone because he didn't want me to hear your Betty Brant Doc Ock conversation. He was laughing so hard that I was afraid you would make him crash. Also, when he listened to you, wait, here it comes. Gotta go.
Michelle, get away from my computer. Told you I was going to record a message for Amazing Spider-Man Classics. Okay, guys. Yeah, that was my little sister. Good job to her. Basically, I was going to congratulate you guys on another great episode with Michael Bailey.
All right.
And John, you threw in a comment about when you were talking about the Sinister Six, about the Sinister Syndicate. And I don't know how many of you have been down to Universal, but recently my little sister and I came back from Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, where I rode the Spider-Man ride countless times. And that's what they used, the Sinister Syndicate, because they couldn't come up with 6 good villains. And it was based on the 90s more than today. They used Scream instead of Venom. It was traumatizing. Either way,
wow.
But that was just all I had. Keep up the great work. And I did have one quick question, John. At the end of every episode, you say we're down 16 and we have 600 and some odd, however many it is for that episode to go. And my only problem with that is, are you going to cover Spectacular, Web of, and all those other series? Because if so, it's going to be way more than 600.
Oh, God.
Enjoy podcasting.
Stephen, you've written that ride, haven't you? And so have I. The one
It was a pretty awesome ride.
To be fair about the 90s influences, it came out in the 90s.
Yeah, you have like Hydra Man and stuff, but it's cool because you have like water spraying in your face when Hydra Man pops up and everything. I thought it was pretty awesome, personally.
I love the line for the ride because, you know, most places when you wait online it's boring because obviously you're online, but they had set decorated stuff and there was a bunch of Easter eggs there. Like you walk through the offices of the Daily Bugle and you saw like names on desks and stuff, and different rooms had different things, and like the intercom would say stuff like whoever paged Flash Thompson, he's online too.
What'd you think about
an animated cartoon of Peter Parker doing something? There's like televisions of because the ride is like a story, and like there were like little cartoons setting up the story. So once you get to the ride, it's like the third act or whatever where Spidey fights the Sinister Syndicate.
You're in a news van that like, and Jonas sends you out in this news van, which is supposed to be like the next phase in reporting or something. Like I remember J. Jonah Jameson like briefs you in the video, I think.
For no reason.
And they called the Hobgoblin Edward Leeds.
Nice.
Fail.
What'd you think about it,
And we-
Stephen?
I think I was about 15 when I wrote it, and it just completely blew my mind. The way the 3D integrated into the ride itself was just fantastic. Yeah, really liked it. That whole area at Universal Studios just really works as a Marvel thing. Very good way of doing it.
Yeah, they have fake signs like Yancey Street and like Kirby Road or something like that. It was really. I know my brother rode the Hulk ride. I hate roller coasters, but he rode it and said it was cool, and it was a nice little nice little area.
The Hulk coaster was intense. I nearly passed out on it. The ride photo is not one I show to people.
You almost pulled it. You almost pulled the Tim Drake then.
Did
They
Tim
did a
Drake
story
have
for-
problems with roller coasters?
He fell asleep on a roller coaster, and his girlfriend got mad at him.
I was trying to. Yeah, I remember that. Awesome.
It was within the last 2 years because it was like that was when Zoanne was his girlfriend.
Right.
But to answer Tyler's question, yes, we are going to cover all the other books. I was counting down just amazing Spider-Man issues. So, well, it's just kind of a little thing that I'm going to do each month. And of course, as we go along, the number of amazing Spider-Man issues is growing as well. So we're not catching up very quickly at all. In fact, the difference between last month's and this month's count is going to be a grand total of 1. So if we catch up by 1 issue every month, it's going to take us 620 months to get caught up, and that's just going to take too long. So, but it's still,
If we ever catch up, that would be like with the Guinness Book of World Records or something.
we're gonna pass this podcast off to our children.
Well,
It's going to be a legacy.
You're being given a helping hand, John, because
Well-
Spider-Man's dropping down to 2 issues a month soon.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the rumor. Is that been announced or is that still a rumor?
By the time this episode comes out, San Diego Comic-Con will probably be over and done with, and we'll know then. And I'll be going to San Diego Comic-Con, so if you people are listening while we're recording and not after this episode comes out, come say hi to me.
Okay, so we're going to do some iTunes reviews. We have had so many people saying wonderful things about us on iTunes that we just thought we would share some of the love here. Back in May, from Groovy16, the comic book podcast I was looking for. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, and I love reliving my favorite comics. The hosts are funny, insightful, and enjoyable to listen to. I highly recommend it. 2 of the hosts also do an Ultimate Spider-Man podcast as well. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. And when she wrote that, or he, it was just after the Zach Henderson episodes where we had him on, and he and I do Teenage Wasteland and Ultimate Spider-Man podcast. So that's what she's referring to there. Also from God of Thunder and War, which God of Thunder, when I first read your little moniker there, my brain translated as God of the Underwear. So
Yeah, it does read like that.
I think God of Thunder and War sounds much better, but my brain just, confused me. Made of Uberness. This podcast is great, and the people who do it are great. This podcast
How did he discover our secret ingredient?
I had to go to Kroger like once a week and buy Uberness. This podcast has made me want to go back and read all the old back issues and really take a look at Spider-Man's character. This podcast also has it where it really matters. You can tell the people who do it truly love this character, and it comes out quite frequently, so that is a bonus. Yes.
Sure we do.
We may really get a kick out of poking holes in these comics, but it is because we love them and we love the character, and we wouldn't be doing this otherwise.
We wouldn't be staying up till like 3 a.m. if we hated Spider-Man.
Or 9 the next morning. Hopefully not that long. But anyways, Deadpool writes, full of win. Very funny and charismatic hosts. Besides their humor, these guys really know their stuff and offer up great insight and factoids about Spidey. The review of issues are very mysterious, are very mystery science theater. I can't talk.
Mystery Science Theater 3000-ish.
At times.
Great job.
Yes. Sorry, evidently my mouth is not working today. That's what she said. So, what do we have on the next 3?
Wow.
Well, barring that sexual innuendo, Tyrabs gives us 5 stars saying, love it. I got to read these comics when my grandma and grandpa would give them to me as a kid. I really love the way these guys talk about the same comics I read 1,000 times over and still manage to bring something new to the table, but be funny about it as well. Can't wait for the next one. Keep up the great work. Thanks, man.
We're making the next one just for you right now.
Oh, yeah, and we're also making it for Ditko66. He gave us 5 stars and said he loves it too. So back-to-back 5-star loves it's.
Yay!
As a diehard Spider-Man fan for over 25 years, this podcast was made for me. I listened to Tom vs. The Flash and always felt Spider-Man was a prime candidate for the same treatment. Keep up the great work, guys, and look forward to your next show. Thanks, man. Or girl.
Do any of y'all listen to Tom versus the Flash?
No, I've listened to an episode or two of it. I listen to way too many podcasts as it is, and since I don't read a lot of Flash Silver Age comics, that's the only one that I occasionally check into. But that guy's great. He's like, we got to have him on here sometime.
If he's a Spider fan, I'd love to. So, Tom, out there in listener land, if you're listening to this show, write us an email. We'd love to have you on.
It's 4 episodes from now we'll have him on. The final one is by SMPER, Semper for fast readers. Another 5 stars, but this guy says, just amazing. I have loved Spider-Man for years and just love this podcast. Just discovered a couple of days ago and quickly loaded it all into my iPod. Listening to a couple a day, can't wait to get caught up. Keep it coming. Thanks, everybody.
The best part about getting caught up is you always have one to listen to. The worst part of getting caught up is that then you're caught up and have to wait.
I know, it's a vicious cycle.
Well, thank you, everyone out there, for giving us the love on iTunes. It helps us gain some... I don't know, do iTunes reviews, like, improve your standing in the iTunes? Okay. That's what I thought it was. So thank you very much for doing that. We do have another email from Richard Foster that Josh is going to read.
Hey guys, long-time listener, first-time writer. Well, actually, the long-time listener part's not so true. I stumbled across your podcast searching for Spidey stuff on iTunes last week, and I've done the audio equivalent of mainlining your episodes. I just caught up to the latest one and finished it today. Great stuff. I can't wait for the next episode. Well, wait no longer. We're recording it right now. I really enjoy your passion and enthusiasm and the humor you guys put into this and how professional your podcast is. Did he listen to the Star Wars pants? Even though I consider myself more knowledgeable than the average Marvelite, you guys continue to bring up good points and educate me with your OCD-like knowledge of the Marvel history. Like Michael Bailey's point about why Marvel renamed mags and preserved the numbering in order to avoid new postal fees. I bow to your superior geek foo, sir.
So even when he's not here, Bailey gets bigged up. Wonderful.
Oh, just wait until you can edit this out if we're not announcing this yet, but just wait until comes on.
Yeah. Hopefully he's coming on but we'll see how that works.
Speaking of Mr. Bailey, I think you should try to keep him on as a regular, because Michael Bailey doesn't need to sleep at all. He really
Despite the last episode.
He really adds to the discussion. ... when he's awake. But, just giving you a hard time. I will say that your show has a little bit of MST3K sense of humor, which I love. And Michael Bailey's voice reminded me a lot of former Misty host Joel Robinson. I was wondering if they had the same reason for sounding sleepy, but apparently Michael's coming by it honestly since you guys were podcasting in the middle of the night. Like tonight, I did the sound effects and running gags like Hypnocoin and Josh's hilarious dramatic interpretation of girls' voices like Betty, Aunt May, and Liz. Alan, and yes, he capitalizes Alan and spells it the right way. That a boy.
Yay!
Which, by the way, you loved the Betty and Liz voices. You're gonna love when we cover issue 17. Oh my.
Yes.
The More You Know intro from episode 11 about what to do if you suspect a fictional woman in the Marvel universe is being abused was pretty flat out. It's funny too. Just to give you my background quickly, I'm a 39 and I'm a journalist, PR guy, and author. My first published article way back in 91 or 92 was an interview I did with Stan Lee. And it was, well, amazing to hear that famous voice on the other end of my phone line. I've been a Spidey fan as far back as I can remember. My dad was a police detective in the early 70s, and I can remember him bringing home issues of Batman and Spider-Man that he read while on stakeouts. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like cool. Spider-Man during stakeouts. The earliest issues I remember reading were from 75, the original Clone Saga, the comics with Scorpion and Tarantula. I love that story. I've kept up with comics more or less since the 70s. I had the Mego action figures and watched the live-action Spidey show in the 70s, and I also had those little paperback reprint books of the Lee Ditko issues.
Yay! Those are mine!
Yep. I remember breathlessly following the Black Suit in the 80s, and I entered and won a Spidey contest in the early 90s and snagged the first Masterworks volume and the Sega Genesis Spider-Man game, which I still remember being pretty cool. I haven't really been connecting with Brand New Day, but it beats the other, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't take a lot to beat the other. Aunt May and Iron Man armor. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I'm not looking forward to reading that, but I will eventually.
No, that actually made me quit reading Spider-Man, believe it or not, for like a few months.
No, I believe it because it sucked.
Yeah. My favorite recent Spidey stuff has to be the Marvel Knights issues with Eddie Brock auctioning off the symbiotes. Your
Speaking
podcast
of that, that's kind of topic for this month because we're going to have the introduction of Mac Gargan in a couple of episodes.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, no, even actually, there's another connection too because Mac Gargan kills a Lee Ditko character in that. No, not Mac. Yeah, no, it was.
It was.
Okay.
It was.
It was
it was-
between Gargan and Brock in that storyline. Another guy, like a mob guy, had the symbiote.
Right.
Yeah, and he kills a Lee Ditko supporting character who's actually named in issue 17.
Sucker.
Here's some more OCD for you. Who is this character? Find out. But wait, there's more to this email. Your podcast has given me the impetus to reread my copies of the Lee Ditko issues plus Untold Tales, and I've been having a blast seeing some stuff I missed, so thanks for that. Now I just wish I had the scan so I could see the stuff like the live monkey ads. Enough said, true believers. Make mine Amazing Spider-Man Classics. Richard Foster.
Never
Richard,
email us again. You vindictive. Nah, that was great.
Yeah, that was awesome email. Richard, just for anyone else who wants to know, on the Libsyn page, amazingspiderman.libsyn.com, I do occasionally put images, and the live monkey ad is on there somewhere. So you might have to scroll past some X-Men blog entries to get to it, or just click on the left where it says choose a category, ASM Classics, but you'll see it in there somewhere. And we're going to have some live monkeys this month too, which is very exciting. So, next on the agenda, turning back to our guest co-host. Are you still awake there, Stephen?
The answer is no.
What?
Go ahead and just take a few minutes. Tell us about the... I know we've mentioned it a few episodes ago whenever you wrote the email, but go ahead and tell us about your blog and what prompted you to start it.
Okay, so my blog at worldofsuperman.blogspot.com, kind of a similar thing to the From Crisis to Crisis project, looking at the same era of comics, but taking a different viewpoint on that, and that is to try and tell a coherent story of Superman's life, rather than going what was released in this month and then the next month and the next month. So, for instance, I did The Man of Steel back in April, first issue of that, and I'm still yet to complete that miniseries, having done about 20 comics since then. So it's very much about the chronological ordering of it. Superman's always been like my favourite character. I got into comics through the Life and Death of Superman novel by Roger Stern with that wonderful cover with the bleeding S shield. And I've always stuck with him through the Good Times and the Chuck Austin.
Good quip.
Oh, you see what I did there? As for Spider-Man, I got in there through, I think it was the mid-90s TV series, which was shown in the UK. And for those of you that don't know, it's a lot harder to find comics in the UK. If you're not in one of the big major cities, you can kind of forget it. And I didn't live in a big major city, so I had no access to the monthly stuff. But the cartoons were great, and it felt like such a rich universe, and the villains felt like the best of Batman's villains, which is that they feel iconic and they don't feel like they're unoriginal or not unique, and that stuck with me. And I've picked up Spider-Man several times. Unfortunately, we've just mentioned it. One of the times that I attempted to get into Spider-Man Monthly was when the other started, because I thought, ooh, a crossover with Peter David involved, that can't be absolutely awful, can it? And at the end of it, I boxed mine away, and I don't think I've touched them since. But I have, and I will be reading from this, I have the 500 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, not on DVD, but on 11 CDs from when that was first released. And that's where I read my Amazing Spider-Man from, monkey ads and all.
All right. And we all love the monkey ads, right? So today we're going to be starting into another of the few continued stories that Ditko had. Unlike issues 11 and 12 that were related, but each was self-contained, these first three issues we're covering this month definitely have the feel of a trilogy. And to me, it's probably on par with the Master Planner story for key Spider-Man stories of Ditko's run. I don't know if y'all esteem it as highly as I do, but I love this three-parter that we're starting into tonight. Amazing Spider-Man 17 was released on July 9th, 1964, with a cover date of October, and we're going to be kicking off with a Josh Bertoni recap.
Oh my, yes. On the cover, we see Spider-Man trying to web the Green Goblin, but gosh darn it, the Human Torch just wants all of those webs, so he gets between the two of them. It's like the Human Torch, just doesn't want Spidey and the Goblin to be together. I said the Green Goblin, because as this cover says, the return of the Green Goblin. And what a return it is. With another blurb, guest starring the Human Torch. Wait a second, he's a guest star? I thought that he was like a regular supporting character in this series. And under Spider-Man, we have Jonah covering himself, Betty looking on in shock, and for some reason, the rest of the high school kids look like they're singing in a choir.
Well, when you say Jonah covering himself, like Jonah's like running. He's not. For the people listening who doesn't have the image, he's not covering himself like he's naked. He's running away.
He's
what
not
an
cupping
image
his
that would
hands
be.
over.
Ew.
No, but look at those high school kids. It looks like they're singing.
Yes, it's chorus line.
They look
Yeah.
very happy for having three superheroes duking it out. They look quite happy.
It's all
We're
the-
in no danger at all.
No, of course not. It's a Spider-Man fan club. Spoiler alert. Yes. And as the issue, and yeah, let's read the blurb. Stan and Steve do it again. Be sure to read this yarn carefully, for it's certain to be discussed and argued about by Spidey fans throughout the free world for a long time to come.
And we will
Wait
argue
a
about
second.
it.
Are you trying to say that a comic published in the '60s is going to be spoken about for a long time, like on a podcast? Like decades later.
I don't know anybody who would do that.
Yeah,
Me
that's
neither.
like eerily prophetic. Well, Peter is looking very distracted in class. Everyone thinks he's reading a James Bond book, but I find that very doubtful because the pages of his book are empty, no text.
And he's using his fingers. Maybe it's Braille.
Oh, yeah, he met Daredevil last issue, so that encouraged him.
we also met like the mysterious blind man / Matt Murdock. So seeing that blind man, maybe we want to take a Braille. Hey, man, I'm gonna go get to the Braille library and pick up some books.
James Bond and Braille. But what he's actually wondering whatever happened to the Green Goblin since their Hollywood binger a few months ago. Flash can't stand the attention being somewhere else, so he teases everyone by saying that he has a big announcement after class. What could it be? Ruggedly written by Stan Lee, robustly drawn by Steve Ditko, and recently lettered by S. Rosen.
Recently.
Spoiler alert, the S stands for Sam.
I like the Silver Age credits.
I readily agree. The Green Goblin is also thinking about Spider-Man as he battles a life-size Spider-Man dummy. I wonder how he explained that one to Harry when he brought that into the house.
This is just for playtime. What?
Dad, you love that Spider-Man dummy more than me.
Of course, I mean, I don't, son. Of course not.
Walk
But
away.
Harry, it's so
Why do you always
flexible.
think-
How could I not love it?
Oh,
Gwen, I don't know what's going on. Dad bought a life-size Spider-Man dummy, and he's in the basement a lot.
Hear a lot
Okay.
of noise from down there.
Lots of crashing and thumping
he's
around.
practicing for when he moves up to college-age girls.
Maybe there's a real person in the suit. Who knows?
Oh, wow. This just got sadistic. Well, he thinks that battling a Spider-Man dummy will be the equivalent of training you for a real Spider-Man, except a dummy doesn't move or fight back, so it's just, glorified target practice. So, yeah, good job there, Goblin. The Goblin changes into...
I love his weapons with the pumpkin bomb, the little ghost, the Sonic Frog, and everything. Like
Yeah, is
his
that a
arm
Sonic
proof.
Toad?
Yeah.
In fact, yep.
Because Green Goblin
The
3
Goblin-
gets a bad rap for using a Sonic Toad the one time in all of Spider-Man history. But I want to say that's a Sonic Toad right there.
Well, the Green Goblin changes into his shadowy civilian identity as he brags about how he's updated his weapons, which, as Don said, we got the Sonic Toad. He's changed his glider, so now it's the more traditional one that you guys are all used to and not the broomstick, and pumpkin bombs, because this is actually this is the first pumpkin bomb appearance.
Okay.
He will now defeat Spider-Man for sure. So Flash announces after class, Spider-Man fan club. Peter walks by and everyone's like, "Oh, guys, hush! No, let's not talk about it. Peter's coming. Nobody tell Peter." So Peter's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" Liz is like, "Hey Peter, want to join this fan club that Flash started?" And for some reason, nobody went and killed Liz right then and there. Flash and Peter argue again, and Peter walks off as usual, and Liz gives Flash the business once Peter leaves, to which Flash responds, he does even like Spider-Man, to which I kind of agree with. I know that we're supposed to but if you're starting the Spider-Man club, someone who's gone on record as not liking Spider-Man, you're not going to invite them to join the fan club.
And Liz is acting like joining the fan club is the most important thing ever. And I've never even seen a real fan club be more than just like a card you get in the mail.
She's acting like a wife wanting her husband to get a promotion. He just gotta be in. He's just gotta. Why? Because.
Oh my God, no! She's downright scheming. No, Liz's actual thought balloon, and I'm going to find some way to get Peter Parker into that club. She has her hands on her chin and her eyebrows raised. No, this is a scheme.
It's like Mr. Burns.
Excellent.
No, if this was done like now in Ultimate, like it would be like a Facebook fan group, and like I'll find some way to get Peter to hit the like button on Flash's fan page.
Oh man.
Spider-Man makes an oopsie when he interrupts the filming of a movie. There's some people running into a helicopter in costumes, and he stops them. And everyone's like, "No, Spider-Man, you idiot! You've ruined the movie." But a few problems I have with it are, it's just guys in a costume running into a helicopter, and he's like, "Oh, well, they must be up to no good."
They have bags.
Okay, they had bags, so
Maybe they have dollar signs on them.
They have masks too, and the dude has like a cape on one panel.
maybe it's the new super team. Maybe this was like a failed issue of Marvel where they were going to start a misunderstanding fight.
It's the Detroit Avengers.
And also, to be fair, how was he supposed to know that this was a movie? Because they were filming it in the middle of the street, not on a closed set.
Right.
There was like an issue of Young Justice where Impulse kind of does the same thing. Like there was a woman, tied to a train track.
Tracks.
Yeah, you remember that? Like the Nuff said, kind of rip-off issue? I know that was a movie as well.
Yeah,
I was wondering about this. Is this the first movie set in Marvel that isn't a plan by a villain to trick his arch nemesis?
That we know of, but we're not 100% sure.
It seems to be an actual movie. That's not Doctor Doom in the background going, "At last, I will get him," or Namor financing it, or anything like that.
Maybe it's Norman Osborn.
The Fantastic Four was supposed to show up instead. You're in the wrong plot, Spider-Man.
Maybe Norman Osborn is in the blue hat shouting "cut."
Well, yeah, the guy in the blue hat saying, "Cut! Stop the cameras! The whole scene is ruined." On account of that, not Spider-Man. And then you have the key grip or somebody saying he probably didn't know that was just a scene from the movie. And how was he supposed to know? Seriously.
No, you're right.
Well, word gets out, and the whole town begins bad-mouthing Spidey. Well, he doesn't really like that, but he probably doesn't want to read issue 18 then, because it's not going to get... Peter goes to the Bugle to walk Betty home, and Jonah is gloating about the faux pas. So, and now I'm going to read to you the walk home, just because of the insane amounts of awesomeness in it. Peter, I just wish Mr. Jameson didn't hate Spider-Man so. Really? What difference does it make to you, Betty? Gosh, I hope she's not beginning to suspect who Spidey really is. Because, of course, if Betty, that comment right there is enough to make Peter suspect that Betty knows who he is. This guy's so paranoid. Have you forgotten, Peter? Spider-Man saved my life 3 times in the past. Okay, for the record, these 3 times, we have Spider-Man Annual 1 and issue 11. And would you consider the Vulture attacking the Bugle to be one of those times?
Yeah.
I think issue 12 is the third one.
No, he never saved her in issue 12.
Was she
he did, but she thinks it was Peter.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think the Vulture one would be a third then.
Yeah, it had to be the Vulture one. I would think it would be 12, and I bet you they were thinking of 12. But you're right, Spider-Man was unmasked as Peter Parker there, and they all think that wasn't Spider-Man. So
I hope you're not trying to imply that Stan Lee would forget anything, because that's the last thing he would do.
Wait till we get to the Avengers issue.
And again, Betty's talking about Spider-Man here, and she's like, "Gosh, I wish Jameson wasn't so hard on him." So this whole retcon about how Betty hated Spider-Man until the day she died, and
Not
how
true.
Ned Leeds even says in issue 289 that Betty would wake up screaming, having nightmares about Spider-Man. So yeah, not so much. Yeah, wake up screaming in the middle of the night. Oh my. Woo. So that's all she meant. What a relief. And now, oh no, up ahead, just my luck. Betty, I just remembered something I forgot. Tell Mr. Jameson, let's go back a minute. Peter, what on earth? Oh, is someone calling you? Petey!
It's Sally April.
Yes! Come here! Let Square have to pop up wherever we go. Gosh, I'm sorry, Betty. I know how you feel about Liz. I hoped we can get away before she saw us. Oh, stop the act, Petey. You're not impressing me one bit. Liz walked over, hands Peter the newspaper. Reading on some urgent Brandt. Here, Petey, I want you to read this. Oh, when she calls me Miss Brandt, I feel 100 years old. And Betty's face, in that scene, she's looking up in disgust. And
Oh, I never.
Hold on a sec.
By the way,
she calls me Miss Brandt. She just called you fat. Get your priorities right.
Okay, she did it in front of Peter. That's not even one of those, hidden insults or something. Like, no, she said right in front of Peter, your girlfriend's fat.
And old. And be with me.
If whenever Liz and Betty first met and she adjusted Peter's tie and Betty got upset, if Liz didn't realize what she was doing there, she definitely realizes what she's doing here and definitely pulling out the claws just for Betty Brant.
Yeah.
Okay, as Peter looks at a page of the Daily Bugle, which, oddly enough, this ad is really, really eye-popping concerning the fact that it's actually printed in, bold, actual, complete letters, while the rest of the paper is written in hieroglyphics for whatever reason. Gosh, you actually put an ad in the paper announcing your FlanCon meeting, but what's this? You're having your dinner at a real dinner club? And Spider-Man will be there? My father is letting us use the Avenue Dinner Club. He owns it, and he paid for the ad in the paper, too. He's always been a Spider-Man fan. That blonde boy stealer wants the world to know how rich she is.
Exactly.
She's like fluffing her hair, too.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, after this issue, does the fact that Liz's father is rich ever come up again?
I don't think so.
Not only that, but when she comes back in the Conway run,
she's like making ends meet and stuff.
She's impoverished.
Okay, so you know what happened during the latter half of the Stan run is like she goes off and she spends all her father's money, like runs up all his credit cards until he finally just cuts her off. So from then on, she has to like make ends meet and scrimp and save, and then her father dies of a heart attack and they never get reconciled. So that's what happens to Liz.
All her friends like Betty, Betty from Archie, oh, you're not rich anymore, so we can't hang out with you. And she has to hang out with her. Oh, no, it's Veronica. Oh, that joke failed because it's Veronica that's rich.
I always had the two fan theories about this, which shows like how much I stay at night thinking about these things. Okay. A, something happened to Liz around, like, graduation. Like, remember how she was all depressed? And I think it had to do with the whole Molten Man thing, since it was retconned that was her stepbrother. So she went to support him and take care of him when the family cut him off. And when she did that, her family cut her off as well for siding with the criminal. Or, the other explanation, which is more hilarious, is because of the fiasco of the Spider-Man fan club, it basically, like, gave the dinner club a bad name. And the business went down in flames.
I like your first idea because Mark Raxton has a different last name, therefore they would have different fathers but the same mother if he's his stepbrother, or married into the same mother. So I'm going with she helps out the stepbrother, which makes her mom happy but upsets her dad, and from then on her dad won't give her any money.
Man, we examine this like obscure plot point to death. So when Peter asks Flash why he knows Spider-Man will be there, we get the little inspirational music as Flash pounds his chest saying, he's the greatest guy in the world, and he's all hard. He performed at a circus for charity last month, which incidentally was also another case where they announced he was going to be there and he showed up. He won't let his loyal fans down. As Peter's thinking, gosh, how can I hate someone who feels that way about Spidey?
Right.
I love his face, too. He's like, oh, that's sweet.
Everybody's faces are so exaggerated on this page. Like, Betty on the top panel, she's, like, looking at Liz, and, like, no one's asking about why Peter's looking at Flash that way either.
I just love Steve Ditko's facial expressions. There's a scene coming up, and I guess we'll talk about it next episode because it's in issue 19, where there's 3 panels of J. Jonah Jameson getting the news that Spider-Man is back.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, that is Steve Ditko and his mastery of the human face. And it's just, he's really using that a lot here. I like it.
So Flash's God Bless America speech ends as he says, so when he sees that notice in the paper, he'll be there. Peter, doing everything but winking at the, reader, says, something tells me you're right, Flash. As he, looks at the reader. Get it, guys?
Get it? You got it?
And Liz can't resist, Team Liz can't resist another dig at Team Betty.
Now you be sure to come, Petey. I know Miss Brant can't come because her boss, Jonah Jameson, might not like it.
I'm sorry, I may be 14, but that entire speech belongs to
This is the way that Josh read it.
And if you change Betty's line to where I come instead of where I go, it just makes it all much better. Here I come on my own time is my business, Miss Allen.
We should say as an aside that me and Josh, we didn't actually form any Facebook groups. We're on Facebook. We were like, oh, Team Liz, Team Betty. We actually taking sides.
I'm so gonna form a group now that Donovan mentioned that. No, I
Well,
got the
that's-
idea because I was seeing all these Twilight Team Edward and Team Jacob stuff, and I was like, well, Liz and Betty are a lot cooler than Jacob and Edward. So,
And don't forget
Well-
Team Mary Jane.
yeah.
As I
well,
put on the thread, Team Mephisto all the way. Soon there will be no other teams.
he'll wreck on all your other teams out of existence.
Oh yeah.
And then so he did.
What teams are you talking about?
I don't know.
What?
Duh.
Huh?
Team-
All right, guys, we're still on page 7, aren't we?
The red.
Jesus Christ.
We got through 4 panels. Hold on, Liz. This is my fan club. I didn't invite Cutie Parker to come. Oh, another cum reference. How nice.
Oh God.
Just then, Peter Parker Spider-Man sends tingles because the Green Goblin is reading the newspaper. I guess that's a reason for it to... Also because, for some odd reason, if you look at the panel, the shadow is covering Norman Osborn's face, but just his face and the lower half of his body in a way that's, like, not entirely possible.
Well, the bill of his hat is not that big to give him that big of a shadow to the back of his head.
Yeah, and also, like, it stops at the neckline. Like, it would continue on to his collar or something. And the lady right behind him affects none of the shadow. Very important to remember here, Stan Lee explicitly says, but why should Peter recognize the one dangerous man in the crowd? He's never seen him without his Green Goblin mask before.
At this point in time, we've never seen. Peter's never seen the Green Goblin without his Green Goblin mask before. Surely at this point in time, neither have Stan and Steve.
So for all those people
Oh.
who are guessing J. Jonah Jameson or the Vulture, Stan explicitly says here that this is a new guy, but the way that Stan forgets things, I wouldn't be surprised if Stan would have like gone back on that.
Yeah,
Well,
like
you know
by the end of the issue,
Well-
he wanted to be J. Jonah Jameson, but forgot.
They retcon later that Peter and Norman knew each other earlier, but when we actually do bring Norman Osborn as a named character into the story, that is, they play it as if it's the first time Pete's ever met him.
Oh, they
So-
play it as if he's he's just another businessman. Because when you do play it that they've met before, it's like Peter in a flashback tale, meaning Norman saying, "Wow, you know, you're my inspiration, and you're the reason why I got into science, and you're super famous."
You're my inspiration.
Contrast that with issue, I think it's 37. It's either 37 or 38, where Peter and Harry are talking, and Harry's like, and Peter's thinking, now for some reason I think I've heard of Harry's dad, but I don't know where.
37, I believe. It's the last. I think it's like the last or second to last Ditko issue.
So Liz lays it all on the table. Flash Thompson, unless Petey is invited to the meeting, I'll tell my father not to let you use his dinner club for the affair. Liz, how can you do this to me? Very easily. Like, it's about to go down, but Betty, could care less. She's like, I've got to get home now, Peter. It's like,
She looks all
no.
hurt and sad.
Peter's like so ADD in that panel. He's like, no, shadowy figure. I don't care about, my girlfriend wanting me to, like, basically, like, it's almost like when your girlfriend says, take me home, that means take her home.
Right.
I mean, because you might be getting some, but it's the Silver Age, so he won't. But,
Peter actually does that in like the rest of the issues. Like Betty will say something. He's like, "Oh, okay, Betty. Drat, I don't want to hang out with Betty. I want to chase some bad guys."
Exactly.
He does it over and over again.
Well, I think it's kind of the thing with Peter Parker and girlfriends. I'm surprised that any relationship ever lasts because all we ever see is him ditching his girlfriends to go out fight bad guys. We never see like sustained happy times with them. We assume that they happen, but we never see them.
Hell, he even ditched his marriage to go fight a bad guy recently.
Exactly, right?
Oh, timely.
well, I mean, it was to have, fat guys sitting on you time. Now to the rest of page 8, which is pretty much logic fail the whole time. First of all, Peter walks Betty home, and she's internally frustrated because she doesn't know why Peter asked him to go to the Spider-Man fan club meeting. I mean, it's not like she, told him once that if she ever saw Spider-Man again, she would just die, like in issue 10.
Right.
No, not issue 10, issue 11, excuse me.
Yeah.
But Peter, as he's walking away, says, I would love to invite Betty, but I can't because I gotta attend to Spider-Man. Hope she doesn't feel hurt. Well, it's Betty Brand, and you obviously don't know her by now because you can't, rip apart a tissue in half without her feeling hurt. So Spider-Man follows that Green Goblin, shadowy figure, and it's another person entirely. I think Stan forgot. Can somebody, piece this together for me?
He can't find the guy. He keeps looking for guys in suits and hats, but he can't find the right one.
The dude with the
Yeah.
mustache?
The dude with the mustache is
Yeah.
not the right guy.
Yeah, he's wearing
But-
like a brown suit
Oh,
as opposed
but-
to that whatever it was, green and yellow stripe thing.
The way that the dialogue is and everything, it seems like that it was supposed to be Norman Osborn, and Stan just like got ADD halfway through and made it a different guy. He's like, well, my spider sense means that this guy's dangerous, but hey, I don't really trust my spider sense, and after that whole movie thing, I'm gonna leave this alone. So he changes back to Peter Parker, and it turns out, oh, what do you know, the guy is dangerous, but the Human Torch saves the day.
Yeah, the supporting character that the Human Torch. The Human Torch is the Amazing Spider-Man 1960s. What Green Arrow is to Smallville, and currently.
Yeah, at least for the next few issues, through 21 at least.
Oh, he's like a regular supporting character. So the Human Torch signs some autographs, including one for Peter Parker, who's just kind of standing there slack-jawed. He's like, oh, I know that you're a fan. Here's an autograph, dude.
Don't be shy.
Sleep with it under my pillow? That's pretty fun.
I mean, who wouldn't be a Human Torch fan? So Peter decides to either sell it on eBay or Craigslist, but then settles on giving it to a little kid and saying, hey, I got Spider-Man's autograph. And the kid says, oh, it's Human Torch all the way. So Jonah decides that this fan club meeting could make Spider-Man bigger than the Beatles, so he must practice unbiased journalism by showing up and finding some way to trash it in his paper.
Right.
Jonah wants Betty to call Peter and have him there with his camera, but Betty doesn't want Peter there because of, Liz. But Betty's an honest person. She can't just lie to Jonah and say, okay, I'll call Peter and not call no. She's going to be honest and follow her boss's orders to the letter. But how's she going to get around this moral dilemma? She's going to call when she knows he's not home.
What genius is this?
The logic is just so, it's like, instead of like just not calling, she's like, oh, I'll call when he's not home.
What I really like about this bit is that Jonah shows probably his first bit of journalistic ethics here. He's noble in that he's not just taking money from anyone in terms of filling up his paper with ads and stuff, but at the same time, he's crusading against a kid's fan club.
Yes, I know, for teenagers, right?
God forbid the Klan try and take out any money, he'd probably go and nuke them all. But this is how he reacts to a bunch of teenagers.
Awesome. Well, I like how you said this is sort of, we see some of his ethics here, because they'll clearly play in issue 20 where he has no ethics at all.
Well, I'll give him the next issue. He's got pretty few ethics as well.
J. Jonah Jameson in ethics. Could you believe it?
Yeah. We could be here all night, literally, if we were just to list every issue where Jonah Jameson doesn't have ethics.
So, taking a break from Team Betty and Team Liz, Peter arrives home and Aunt May, still sporting that Team Mary Jane banner, announces to Peter that, he has a date with Mary Jane. Peter reminds her that he's old enough to make his own dates, and, oh yeah, by the way, I have a girlfriend. Remember that one that, visited you in the hospital when you were sick? Yeah, her. I have a girlfriend.
Nonsense, dear. I know what's best for you.
Nonsense. Yeah, just nonsense.
I love her. She's a sweet girl. Mrs. Watson says so. You don't even meet her?
Mrs. Watson isn't biased at all.
About her niece, which I guess kind of plays into that whole thing. How well did Aunt May know Mary Jane before all this? Where it was retcon that Mary Jane and Aunt May were at least casual enough friends that they were visiting each other for, at least a few years before she met Peter, although somehow she never met Peter during any of this time. Peter figures out, gosh, Aunt May, it's impossible tonight. I'm going to a meeting of the Spider-Man fan club. She wouldn't be interested in that. Why, that's just perfect, dear. Mary Jane's aunt tells me she just loves Spider-Man, although personally I can't see why.
Of course she loves Spider-Man. She lives next door to him.
Yeah,
and knows who he is.
Yeah, at this point she knows who he is, for those of you not following all the retcons going around. So it's actually really interesting. And that would have been a really good what if. If they would have done what if Peter had to take Mary Jane to the fan club meeting with him. First of all, Betty would have nuked the place before the Green Goblin would come. But
and I think you'd have had Team Betty and Team Liz teaming up to form one super team against Team MJ.
It would be like
it would have been like the swords combining in Power Rangers.
It's like that. It's awesome. Like that Superman's girlfriend Lois Lane cover where it's Lana and Lois shaking hands, going, "Superman's with a new girl. It's time for us to put aside our rivalry and team up and stop her."
I've seen that cover. It's pretty awesome.
Well, wasn't the thing was that Mary Jane didn't want to meet. The reason that he hasn't met her before is because she didn't want to meet him because she knew he was Spider-Man. So where's all this? Oh, she's actually a huge fan of Spider-Man crap coming from? Is it just Aunt May being high again?
Oh, I bet Mary Jane is saying it to basically but to mind Peter. Like, basically,
Like,
like, oh,
you
by
could
the
say-
way, tell Peter that I'm just the hugest Spider-Man fan. And then thinking, like, ha ha ha, let him make sense of that one.
What a bitch.
And when Mary Jane first meets Spider-Man somewhere around the early 60 issues, like 60-something, like, she's very, very flirty with him. She's like,
You have a
ooh,
brother?
do you have any brothers? I said,
Yeah.
move, woman. Well, Saved by the Bell, as Aunt May has an exposition-friendly phone call with Anna Watson. And I really, really hate it when movies and TV shows do it, where you have a phone call where the person just basically repeats what the other person's saying. Hello?
And doesn't
Oh,
give them any
Mrs.
time to say it as well.
Hello? Oh, Mrs. Watson. What? Mary Jane has a bad cold and can't go out tonight? Tisk, tisk, Peter will be so disappointed. In real life, this is how the conversation would have gone. Hello? Hello, May, it's me, Anna. Mrs. Watson? Mary Jane has a bad cold and can't go out with Peter tonight. What? Mary Jane has a bad cold and can't go out with Peter tonight? May, I know you're senile, but please stop repeating everything I say.
What you need is a good Zen hospital to make you lose this annoying tick.
So Peter's relieved that he's out of the state, but Aunt May he does the whole mock, oh, I'm so disappointed. So Aunt May's like, what's that? If Peter's so disappointed, she might try dressing warm and taking some pills. Which the conversation would have gone, oh, Peter's disappointed. How about she dresses warm and takes some pills? What's that? If Peter's so disappointed, she might try dressing warm and taking some pills.
And then Anna's like, why are you saying this, man? Come on, like, why are you talking like that?
Speaking of which, if I was Peter, I would be very, very worried about dating this girl because this is the second time that she's gotten too sick to go out with him.
Right.
Oh, no, it was the first time it was a headache. Like, this girl has no immune system. So Peter runs out before, he has to listen to any more of this exposition-heavy phone call. And that's the Team Mary Jane feature of the issue. So Flash, Liz, and her dad, who for some odd reason is named Mr. Brandt, as if the whole Allen, A-L-L-A-N and A-L-L-E-N wasn't confusing enough.
Oh my God, he is. Like even in my copy, he's like, we sure appreciated Mr. Brandt, father of Liz Allen.
Yeah.
And no relation to Ms. Brandt.
Another name for it.
And they're both named Elizabeth.
Yeah, oh, well, here's another mind freak for you. We've never seen Betty Brandt's father.
Dr. Blue.
She and Liz are actually separated at birth.
What a sexy combination.
Explains why they hate each other so much.
That blonde boy
It's all
stealer
coming
stole my
together.
father, and now she's gonna steal my boyfriend.
It's the craziest thing ever.
Well, he's excited about the boost it will bring to his club, which I don't know how
Why?
that's going to be the issue.
This is a huge, massive place. I mean, are they even having people to fill it, let alone repeat customers?
I guess this whole Spider-Man fan club thing is a lot bigger than they expected.
Well, and Flash
Yeah.
is pretty popular. It's like, show up or I'll give you a wedgie. Spidey and Goblin both prepare separately for their grand entrance. Jonah asks Betty if Peter got the message, and Betty says he wasn't in, and Betty reminds herself internally, little does he know that I purposely called when he wasn't home. Ha 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 ha. I'm so honest yet so devious at the same time.
And the look on her face is like, Secret Agent Betty Brandt calling people when they're not at home.
There's a really cool the Spider-Man and Green Goblin panels right there next to each other. It's almost like a diptych. They're kind of like both doing the same thing but in their own ways. It's kind of just a cool little couple of panels. I like it.
Yeah, good
For
stuff.
some reason, go ahead. For some reason, Johnny Storm is attending with Dory Evans, the biggest shrew in all of Silver Age history, which is saying a lot. And she's like, remember, Johnny, you're not here to be the Human Torch. Oh, don't worry, Dory. The only flame in my heart will be the burning one for you. Or something like that.
And I already hate
Some
Dory.
shit.
How can you not hate Dory, especially after issue 21?
Oh yeah.
God.
Spider-Man swings the room and everyone is amazed. But then his web line breaks and he begins to fall, like 15
Oh no!
from the ground. And everyone reacts dramatically. It's like, oh no, I can't look. He might sprain his ankle or something.
But that's never happened to him before. Not like the time he fought the Vulture and broke his shoulder in front of everybody in New York. That's never happened to him before.
Everyone thinks it's an act. Oh, everyone thinks that's part of the show, except for Johnny Storm. Storm is right because the Green Goblin threw an exploding toad to break Spider-Man's web.
I'm sorry. I know that I'm a few hours ahead of you guys and that I'm drinking coffee to stay up late, but that was a razor-sharp exploding frog. I'm not hallucinating it.
There's a reason why the pumpkin bomb survived this issue, and the exploding frog is a footnote in Goblin history.
So this isn't the Sonic Toad. This is the razor sharp exploding frog. I gotcha.
I also
Yeah.
love the fact that it looks like a real toad. It doesn't even look like it's a toy or a gadget. It has like limbs, articulatures that are like just.
About to say the legs actually stream behind it as it goes through the air. It's very impressive.
So Liz doesn't care for Spider-Man and thinks that the evening's going to be just a complete disaster if Peter doesn't show up. Can someone remind this girl that she turned down a date with Peter in issue 6 because Spider-Man called her Blue Eyes?
Exactly.
The Goblin makes his presence known. Wait, the Green Goblin's here? Oh no! People might get hurt! Maybe Spider-Man should take the battle elsewhere, or warn everyone to, vacate the building.
Nah.
No, he decides that people can get hurt in the rush, but not by the Goblin, that they might, hurt each other stampeding out. So he'll play along as if it's a show.
Because it's always good to have dangerous supervillains flying around in enclosed spaces with lots of people.
Oh no, the Green Goblin! Oh, I better play along with this. I mean, whatever. So the Green Goblin introduces his Goblin Sparks, which Spider-Man dodges to the pleasure of the crowd. Betty, like Liz, doesn't care and is only thinking of Peter. She's relieved that Peter isn't there, where Liz can sink her claws into him. The Goblin lets out more of his arsenal, including pumpkin bombs and a bat. We don't really see much of the bat anymore, but the pumpkin bombs, that's very iconic, and this is their first appearance.
Yeah.
Well, I should imagine a farting bat just wasn't the thing they wanted to go with.
It brings the Egyptian plague of darkness down on Spider-Man.
That's a great gimmick.
Johnny begins to voice his suspicions to Dory that this is happening for real. Liz wonders where Peter is and realizes that she's never seen him and Spidey together. And for some reason, she's wondering this out loud. Well, not for some reason. It's for the reason of plot, so that way Peter can overhear it and realizes that he needs to finish the Goblin and change quickly.
Of course, this is the magic secret identity threat.
Yeah. Well, because Liz Allen, the cheerleader who was too dumb to even go to college is going to, figure this out.
Not only that, but why would you say out loud, why have I not seen Peter Parker and Spider-Man at the same time? You could also say, well, why haven't I seen my dad and Peter Parker or Spider-Man at the same time? What kind of random thought is that?
Your dad.
Liz probably walks around saying stuff like that. Wait a minute, how come I've never seen Flash Thompson and Iron Man together? But
I've never seen President Obama and Superman in the same room before.
Why have I never seen that tree and the hot dog stand in the same place before? They must be the same.
Josh,
so this has gone from Liz making an incredibly intellectual deduction to Liz being an idiot.
Although you have to admit, she looks really good in this issue. Steve Ditko really gave her some nice curves with that shirt.
The most idiotic bit of this is you got a masked lunatic with advanced scientific abilities and weaponry flying around the place trying to kill Spider-Man in front of you, and now you want to start realising that Peter is Spider-Man. Get your bloody priorities right. Talking of getting your priorities right, surely Peter should realise there's a masked lunatic with advanced scientific abilities and weaponry trying to kill you in front of your fan club, Forest Hills chapter, and now you're going to start going back like you thought Liz Allen and all of that. Just why are people thinking this way?
Priorities.
And that lunatic, by the way, is going to become Liz's father-in-law eventually.
Oh,
so convoluted.
For me as well, because he seems to be seems to have shagged just about everyone that Peter's interested in.
Oh my, he would do that to piss off Harry.
Well, yeah.
Some criminals randomly decide that they're going to rob the club because, hey, let's rob the place that Spider-Man's making an appearance at. I mean...
And what were those three guys? I mean, they're just out of nowhere. They're not part of the Goblins team.
Now's our chance. We came here to see the show, but we brought our guns just in case we felt like robbing, but maybe not.
They're the plot device of no reason.
So Johnny changes into the Human Torch to help with things, but when he's flying up to stop the criminals, he gets in the way of Spider-Man's webbing as it's about to catch the Goblin. The criminals are scared away.
Is that the cover of Inter? Yeah,
that is the cover, yeah.
The criminals are scared away. In fact, one of them is so scared that he's announcing that he's going to retire from crime.
Oh, wow.
No, he's announcing his sexual orientation.
I'm going straight.
I'm taking the pledge. Is Britney Spears playing in the background?
I was about to say, can I hear Toxic?
Baby, can't you see I'm calling? A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous.
It's like
the torch is gonna...
It's like, in Smallville, like the shows in Smallville, they'll play like songs of young artists. It's like for this Spider-Man. You know what this fight scene needs? It needs Britney Spears toxic.
Tonight, it's like the old episodes of Smallville. Like tonight's episode of Smallville featured music by Lifehouse. Tonight's episode of Amazing Spider-Man Classics featuring music by Britney Spears.
She wasn't even born yet. Let's keep going.
Hell no.
So Spider-Man decides that the Green Goblin's not even worth his trouble now that the Human Torch is there. So he somehow manages to change into Peter, which I don't know how he would have managed to do, because everyone's like, "Oh wait, where'd Spider-Man go?" I mean, you would have thought that like with all those people in the room, somebody would have been looking at him.
He also has his web boots still on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he totally does. Somebody better not look down.
And yet, Liz doesn't look down.
Actually,
Not
I
see her
didn't pull
chest.
them out. I didn't pull them out for any of our letter columns commentary later. But people did call them on the fact that there was a letter writer who's like, "Hey, he still has the spider boots on," so they got called on it.
Stan Lee was like, "Shut up! No one else knows."
At this point, Peter's in his civvies running in, and I just don't understand what he's doing. Get out your clothes and get the bloody goblin. I mean, did Superman pause in the middle of Superman number 75, getting the beaten out of him by Doomsday, quickly ran off, changed into Clark, stood in the crowd and yelled, "Superman, no, it can't be, he's losing," before changing back into Superman to get killed?
That would be awesome.
It just reminds me of like all the after school kid sitcoms where the main character like tries to schedule a double date and it doesn't work, like Zach did on Saved by the Bell, and I think Funky Brewster did it once. It's like trying to be in two places at the same time. There would be a moral at the end of the story.
Or like, yeah, everything would collide. Or like Mrs. Doubtfire, when he's running back and forth and changing from Mrs. Doubtfire to Robin Williams, like, and he's at a dinner at the same restaurant, and he like returns to the table dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire.
Right.
I love Mrs. Doubtfire so much. It's the last funny Robin Williams film.
After she almost murders James Bond.
Oh yeah.
I was about to say, is it 007 in that movie? Yeah, Pierce Brosnan.
It was a run by fruiting. I'm so sorry.
Well, no, like, isn't she the reason why he choked? Didn't she, like, poison him?
Oh yeah, she put too much
Yeah.
pepper on it. Yeah.
So between Peter Parker showing up and the Human Torch, Flash complains that there are way too many deadheads at this meeting. So Liz tries to enroll Peter in the fan club again, but he announces that he's starting one for the Green Goblin instead. You know, the guy that causes your daughter to be stillborn and, kills the love of your life later on. To start a fan club for him. So Peter's like, well, now that I've shown myself, I've got to get back to the Goblin Flash. But yipes, look who's here. Look, Parker did come, after all. But where's his camera? Peter's here with Liz. She's running her fingers through his hair.
Oh no!
Oh no. You look pale, Petey. Is anything wrong? Boy, is that the understatement of the year.
Make it sound like Betty's about to undergo some sort of psychotic break.
Peter, here we actually.
She's running her fingers through his hair. Oh no!
Oh no! Like the Emperor.
Mary Jane.
Who I haven't met yet. Goblin throws a little ghost on Torch.
It's Casper.
I mean, and that's I really have no other way to explain this, but that he throws a little ghost on the Human Torch.
And the
He
ghost
does a
is like,
couple of
let's get him!
As Peter runs to change back into Spider-Man now that Liz has seen him. The kids begin to realize that the fight is real, because, I mean, hey, it's obvious, but okay.
It was obvious, 10 minutes ago, or in podcasting time, half an hour ago.
God.
Just kidding.
And the Human Torch barely survives the Green Goblin's glider smoke, which is actually what caused them to be like, hey, the Human Torch almost died. This might be serious.
Right.
Spider-Man returns to the fight, but not for long. As he swings to the ground to dodge another punch from the Goblin, he overhears another phone call. And apparently, this person who's taking the call must have... Is that Mr. Brandt or Mr. Allen, by the way? I think it's supposed
no,
to
he's
be...
not got
Allen.
mustache.
I think that is supposed
to
to be Mr. Allen answering the phone.
Mr.
Yeah.
Allen Brandt.
It's someone who knows who Peter Parker is.
Well, apparently he and Aunt May went to the same school for phone calls because, hello, what? Yes, I think Peter Parker is here. Why? His aunt suffered another heart attack. His aunt suffered another heart attack? She's asking for him in the hospital. She's asking for him in the hospital? Okay.
It's very inconsiderate of Aunt May to choose tonight of all nights to suffer a massive myocardial infarction.
She's asking for him in the hospital. She's asking for him in the hospital? I see. I'll see if I can find him. So Peter responds by just, bolting out of the meeting.
He doesn't even he runs away. He literally like runs out the door.
This phone call's loud enough that Peter can hear it over the sounds of the battle. And the moment his name's mentioned Aunt May, Spider-Man runs away. Where the hell is Liz at this point? Surely that's the clue she's been waiting for.
Right. You would think so.
Yeah.
You know so.
Well, I mean, she saw him. She touched his hair, so it can't possibly be Peter. I mean, in fact, you think that changing in the Peter Parker would have made it worse? Because then, like, Liz would have noticed that Peter, like, appeared as soon as Spider-Man disappeared.
And his hair is all like out of place and everything. He looks like he's been doing exercise.
It's like, oh, well, this completely throws me off.
and his shoes.
But I mean, he makes a comment like, oh, I was on the other side of the room the whole time. She's like, oh, well, that's plausible. His own fan club boos him.
Mr. Allen's business club goes down the drain after that, you know.
Mr.
That's where all
Brand.
the money went.
It's supposed to be Mr. Allen, yes.
What the hell is
It's
wrong?
tied, but it's supposed to be Mr. Allen. In fact, it's Wilson Allen, just so you know. His first name is later revealed to be my last
As opposed to Wilson Fisk.
name.
He became the kingpin. He like gained like 300 pounds like by overeating after his wife left him because the clone.
This is
My
zanier
God,
than
he
John
becomes
Burns'
Winston
continuity.
Wilson and Alan Fisk.
This is why we didn't write chapter 1.
I think Betty and Liz have the exact same father. And the name.
Oh God. Well, the Goblin retreats because he's like, well, if Spider-Man's not here, I mean, why should I stick around? So he temporarily binds the Human Torch and takes off as well. Dory decides that she's not mad at Johnny for being the Human Torch because there's no reason to be. But like she says it as if like it's a usual occurrence. Which, from all of her appearances that I've read, it pretty much is. Like, Donovan was talking to me about that Marvels series that Kurt Busiek did, where Johnny's like, hey, I'm going to heat up some more girls for you, Dory. Don't you dare!
Yeah, she's like, you better not. I swear this time I will break up with you.
I don't remember that from Marvels. I don't remember them focusing on
It's
that.
like one panel of.
It's at, like, Alicia Storm's party or something.
Oh,
Alicia
yeah.
Masters.
Alicia Masters. I call her Alicia Storm because I was reading some of the older issues where she and Johnny were married. I'm not even going to try and explain
What?
the whole she and Johnny being married thing.
Oh, yes.
Because that's going to be a 10-minute tangent.
Okay. So speaking of 10-minute
Everyone
tangents,
want one of those on this episode.
Noticing how upset he is about Spider-Man's coward act, she asks if he actually likes him. Jonah runs off to the Bugle, ready to put out an extra.
I do have to say I feel sorry for Johnny. He's not going to get his bromance tonight.
But
Yeah,
I
I
love
mean-
Jonah here.
They're both with the woman that they love, though. He's with Dory and Peter's with Aunt May.
Right.
Oh God.
I love
So
the fact
Jonah-
that Jonah here runs off. He can't wait to publish that he, a 40-year-old man or 40-plus-year-old man, was hanging around all night with a bunch of young, gullible teenagers.
Well, I mean, he came here with the like unbiased journalism intentions of finding a way to rip this club a new one. So as he's running off, he's oblivious to Betty crying because her whole world's falling apart with like her 19th century handkerchief.
Right.
Yeah, conveniently in there.
And I feel like telling the world what a fool I am for thinking Peter Parker ever cared about me. I'll never trust him ever again. And in Liz Allen's face in that next panel, Peter Parker must be part ghost. Now where did he disappear to? To which her dad probably should have said, I don't know, maybe because his aunt's in the hospital, but that would be too logical.
And then the mob of
everyone-
angry loser teenagers. Yeah, they all walk out.
Yeah, everyone's leaving the club, and Flash is like, wait, we gotta hold elections for officers. And they're like, yeah, this ship has sailed Flash by. And he's like, I'm never gonna desert Spidey. Never, ever, ever.
The guy who says, forget it, Flash, Spider-Man can go jump in the lake, does it not look like his head is just 180 degrees around the wrong way? His body's moving forward, his head is totally facing back.
His chin is behind his neck.
Yeah.
Which guy?
It's elongated, man.
In panel 3 on page 21,
Yeah.
bottom
The
right.
blue coat.
Jump in the lake guy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He
it's like-
actually just came back from his Exorcist shoot. And
He's like, hey, Liz, Peter may be part ghost, but I'm part, contortionist.
Where's my jingold?
he's the next bad guy.
So Peter visits Aunt May in the hospital. This is... are we still counting hospital visits?
This is the second one, right?
I think this is the third time that she.
I think it's the second one because when she was in issue 9 and 10, that was
Blood
kind of a
transfusion.
situation. Yeah. So, which we never found out what she was sick for, but Mr. Allen / Brandt says that it's another heart attack. So maybe it was either a heart attack before. She's had like undisclosed amount of heart attacks in her past.
I do have to say on that last page on the top, the first panel, how you kind of like have a city shot and you have two different speech balloons coming from two different totally, two separate scenes. It's just kind of, effective storytelling on Stan's part to squeeze both of those bits into one panel. I just wanted to say
cool.
kudos to them on that.
So Peter visits Aunt May in the hospital, and the next day the press is all abuzz about Spider's cowardness. And Peter sits alone in his room thinking about how everything is crap for him. Betty's mad, his fans are mad, and the Goblin's free, and Aunt May had another heart attack. Huck, yuck, yuck, that Parker luck.
Why don't things ever seem to turn out right for me? Why do I seem to hurt people no matter how I try not to? Is this the price I must always pay for being ... Spider-Man, man?
Now, speaking of Aunt May and her Team Mary Jane stuff, I want you guys to notice something. Peter was supposed to take Mary Jane out, and he didn't. Instead, he's at this fan club meeting with, as far as Aunt May knows, 2 other girls. So how does she respond? By faking a heart attack?
That would be evil, sir.
You should have gone out with Mary Jane.
I think the title for this episode will
trip.
be Aunt May, capital letters, the bitch.
Yeah.
It's like it's like that scene in the first Spider-Man movie where like she's in her coma, she wakes up and like winks at the audience and then like pretends to like be.
I'm imagining like Rosemary Harris doing that. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Josh.
This is a wacky issue, actually. I used to think like this is a really good issue, but like I never realized how ass goofy it is.
It's really good. It's one of my favorites of the run. But yeah, there are a lot of things that could have easily gone other ways, and especially if Aunt May's faking it. That's what Jameson said.
Oh my. This was actually one of the first Spider-Man comics I ever read, and I think it was my first Lee Ditko one. Because when I first started getting into like collecting Spider-Man comics, I got a few of them, but like it was either like my second or third comic was a trade called Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin. And this was one of the issues in there. In fact, the issues that they chose were really, really weird and random. Like, instead of putting issue 14 in the trade, they put issue 17. And then the next issue was the drug trilogy. So, like, I'm reading this, and at the end, Betty's mad at him. And then at the beginning of the next issue in the trade, like, he's, like, walking by her as if she's nobody. Like, oh, hey, hi, Betty. Is Jameson in? And he's thinking about some girl named Gwen. And then all of a sudden, the Goblin and Spider-Man know each other's identities. That was skipped in the trade.
Yeah, I'm looking. I just looked that trade up. It has 17, and then 96, 97, 98, which was, I guess, his last big hurrah before the Gwen stuff. And then 121, 122, and then the death of Harry in Spectacular 200.
Yeah, the death of Harry, which when you get to that, all of a sudden Peter and Mary Jane are married. Liz is Harry's wife, and Harry's been the Goblin for a while. It's like a really out of place trade, but because of that, like this is one of my first Lee Ditko Spider-Man stories ever, and it holds a very special place in my heart.
That's cool. I think it's a great. The 17, 18, 19 is probably my favorite story of, definitely of this year, and probably of all of Ditko's run.
I think it has like the best art so far we've covered in the issues. Like you said, like there's a lot of like really classic faces like all over the place, and I think that the choreography between Spider-Man and the Goblin is really good near the end.
The action is amazing. The fight scene on the stage with the Torch and the Goblin and Spider-Man, there's a lot of just really good stuff there. I like how after the Goblin throws the smoke ghost onto the Torch and it expands, like it still has eyes. Like even if it's just a big old cloud, the third panel is just a big old cloud, there's 2 little teeny tiny eyes floating up there in the corner. It's just kind of funny.
Wasn't that in the Spectacular Spider-Man? Like, I know they scream, but like when the Green Goblin throws his pumpkin bombs, don't they... Wasn't there one instance where they made a pumpkin face or something?
In the cartoon?
Yeah, they could have ripped that off from here.
May have done. I've only seen those episodes once each, so I don't remember.
I love the ghost, like with the angry faces, like and then like in the third panel on page 17, like they look they have like their actual consciousness, like they're sentient ghosts.
Like the ghost is actually like feeling about the whole situation.
Yeah, exactly.
At one point, Flash tells a classmate named Seymour to bite his tongue. It's going to sound like I'm making this up, but...
Poor bastard.
Oh, yes. Eventually, I guess the only way to tell this is to start from the beginning, but around Mark Mark Millar, when he was writing Marvel Knights Spider-Man, this is actually pretty cool that he did this. He would send his scripts and they get proofread by spiderfan.org, and they would do things like correct continuity mistakes and help him put in Easter eggs. And during the issue where they did the high school reunion, they asked him, he asked Spider-Fan to come up with like a obscure high school character that could kill off. And they found Seymour. You know, he had like a few background shots, and he was name dropped once or twice, and they gave him the last name of O'Reilly. And he gets killed by Venom like 2 seconds after finding out that Peter's Spider-Man.
Yeah, I remember we talked about that. But yeah, so he actually did pull the name Seymour out of the book. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just love this magic hall where everything happened. This ballroom space, which is big enough to allow Spider-Man to swing at full speed around, the Human Torch to fly around with enough momentum to keep himself going, and the Green Goblin's rear thrust glider to give him enough room to keep moving to allow him to stay airborne. It's massive. It's brilliant.
And obviously they could not have stayed like on the stage. Like the impression that they give you is that this is all happening over the stage. But there's no way all the things you just said could have happened in such a small space. They're flying all over their heads. I mean, it's a massive ballroom, and these guys are flying all over the place.
I kind of want to do like a goofy thing happening counts. As I like skim back for the beginning of the issue, you have Green Goblin having a Spider-Man doll, I guess to work out on. You have,
I've forgotten that. Yes.
Well, which Harry discovered one day, and it led to like a very, very awkward like dinner conversation.
And then Norman's like, "Well, son, I
better come up with something to throw him off quick, or he's going to suspect I'm the Green Goblin."
I really like Spider-Man. Really like Spider-Man.
Son, your mother's been dead for years, and a man's got needs.
Oh God!
Spend my special mask and use my special toys on him.
You think that's bad? You should see my giant man doll. I got the whole.
But this one has working web shooters, so we're good. Okay, continue your list.
Okay, I don't, is it normal for old women to say, "Oh, I don't care that you have a girlfriend. Let me suggest to you to go for this girl that I've heard is nice." I don't know. Aunt May is high again.
Yeah, to quote Michael Bailey,
Aunt May is crazy.
Exactly.
He's probably just really controlling and doesn't trust Peter to make any own decisions when she can make much better ones for him.
No, she's not having any of this. He's like, "I have a girlfriend." She's like, "I don't care. You're having a date, and by the way, it's tonight."
Yeah, that bitch only came and visited me in hospital. I was clicked onto life by a thread. Yeah. Anyway, here's this redhead girl who just has headaches every 5 seconds.
I mean, but she's not a high school dropout like that hussy.
Yeah.
We all know Peter has a thing for a redheaded stranger.
The electronically charged toy frog and speaks for itself. Yeah. Okay. This is what blows my mind. I actually didn't know since you guys were going over it. Liz Allen's father is named Mr. Brandt.
Yeah. It's another classic Stan Lee got the name wrong for his character.
That's like the worst. That's like the worst. Like that's like saying, "Oh, Professor Xavier," calling him like I don't know, Professor Cyclops or something. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like why would you? Like, goo. Ah, man.
We're just like calling Betty Ross Betty Brandt in the Hulk comics, or calling him Bob Banner or Peter Palmer.
Well, those
I think Flash just had Betty on the brain.
Has he met Betty before? I guess he may have.
Yeah, he just met her a few pages ago.
Well, theoretically, they went to high school together a while back.
Huh?
Well, when would she have to have jumped out?
Hold on. I mean, I don't think that there's ever been any indication that Peter and Betty were at Midtown High together.
Oh, really? I thought that would have been it.
Yeah, no, I never. She probably went to Standard or something.
Oh God, yeah. There's an untold tale. Her as classmates with Gwen and Harry, but they were together in issue 15. When that Craven thing happened, that was like.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
Met, and they were together a few pages before the Miss Brand thing. In fact, there's a few issues of Untold Tales where hijinks ensued with Betty meeting the classmates. Like there's one time where they went on a double date together that was really awkward.
I guess yeah. I mean, there's never an indication that Betty has any connection to Forest Hills, which is where all of his friends are from. So she works in the city. They know each other because of Manhattan, but she could be living anywhere. So yeah, forget the whole they went to school together thing.
I see. I think she went to Forest Hills and was best friends with Jessica Jones before Jessica Jones disappeared because of the accident.
Right.
Yeah. I never got any indication that Peter knew Betty before the Daily Bugle. It seems to be that that's how they met. But I mean, maybe we can argue that because Flash, because of what happens with Flash and Betty in the future.
Oh yeah,
Spoiler,
here we go.
they kind of become a Ross and Rachel. That maybe he was attracted to her back then. So like after that whole little meeting with Betty in the street, he's got Betty on the mind, and he calls his girlfriend's dad Mr. Brand.
That's the stupidest explanation.
Well, we've come up with like, is that a better explanation than Liz's dad is Betty's dad?
Point taken.
So we do have that Liz Allen's father. This is his first appearance. And I mentioned earlier that he gets a first name of Wilson, and that was actually done in the Handbook to the Marvel Universe Spider-Man issue from 2005.
And he does come back up in ASM 28 when said, Liz, honey, it's time to go after they graduate.
And
I'm gonna guess that he dies fairly early on because I don't remember him in any of the stuff I've read. Liz Allen or Liz Osborne later on.
It's killed by the Green Goblin,
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So to round out our discussion here, I have once again, back by popular demand, because you demanded it,
Yes, I did.
Miss Lily Wilson, my 8-year-old daughter, is going to give her thoughts on this issue.
It was kind of funny how he ran into the movie, which he thought it was a real crime, but it was a fake crime. Yeah, I feel bad for him. It's kind of funny how a lot of people, they like one identity of the hero, but they hate the other identity. Like Flash, for instance, he calls Peter Puny Parker, and he thinks Spider-Man is the coolest guy on the planet. I like how Liz and Betty do the girl fight thing. I probably wish I would have been invited to the Spider-Man fan club, and I would have realized that it was a real fight. I probably would have run chicken. I'm glad he had a good reason to run away for his Aunt May, and he wasn't just running away because he was chicken. Spider-Man wouldn't have run away if he was chicken. I kind of feel bad for Flash when all of his friends leave him. Just a little bit. Poor Spider at the end. The Green Goblin is not one of my favorite villains. I don't like how they made it really long hiding his identity. Thank you for listening to Amazing Spider-Man Classics.
Yeah, that's my girl. I always love having her on the show.
I told you to stop doing that, John. I mean, I know this is the most popular part of the show, but I want my attention, and she cuts me out of airtime. So
okay, you know what, Dawson?
Oh wait, is this recording? Oh no!
You can sacrifice 2 minutes of your life.
Well, it's going to be like in the future. We already decided that it's going to be Little Donovan, who isn't in no relation to regular Donovan, and Lily doing the podcast.
Earth 2 Donovan, and then Lily.
Right. So the letters page for this issue, appropriately enough, had letters regarding issue 14, which was the previous Green Goblin story. And Larry Schenker thought that he had way too many gimmicks. And Gary Rafferty thought that there weren't enough. But neither one of them liked him. We also have another celebrity letter. Douglas Mensch would go on to work with Batman, Moon Knight, and Deathlock, but here he's only 16. He didn't enjoy the plot so much, but he really dug on the action, and he highlighted specific panels in his description. He thought that if B.J. Cosmos was going to hire a Beetle to play a superhero, it should be the Hulk instead of Spider-Man because of the Hulk's hair. The way that
would have been the worst movie ever. And I'm saying that as a Marvel Comics fan and as a Beatles fan.
He commented also on Paul Gambaccini's letter, the same Paul Gambaccini that our very own Stephen Lacey wrote about last episode, noting that Paul's letters have moved from harshly critical to a fan converted from the competition. So yay, Paul Gambaccini.
Woo. And just above the Douglas Mensch letter is, it's Gary Rafferty. I was hoping it would be Jerry.
Yes, but no, sorry. I actually saw that and got excited, but it was not the same guy.
But no.
In response to Richard May's request for Spider-Man to be able to control spiders, the editor says that a guy would look silly sitting somewhere having a conversation with a spider. But of course, that's exactly what we saw last episode with Jameson in the annual.
And nobody told the people who were working on the Spider-Man comics around 2004.
My response to that is, he would look silly talking to spiders as opposed to Ant-Man talking to ants.
Right.
We don't care if he looks silly.
Right, wife beater. So, Morris Smart really called it when he congratulated Marvel for not revealing the Goblin's identity. I think that's one of the cool things about the Green Goblin, and I think that's one of the things that made Hobgoblin cool. And the third Green Goblin was not knowing who they were. People who want to bring back the Hobgoblin now forget that one of the things that made the Hobgoblin cool all those years was not knowing who he is. So anyways, and the last thing I wanted to pull out of the letters column was that Bill Dubé guessed he was Frederick Boswell.
Well, he's on the trick there because Frederick Boswell does have a proclivity for secret identities.
It does kind of make sense that, having been the leader of the criminals, he would want to again be the leader of the criminals. I can see some logic to what he's saying.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Bad
Obviously,
this.
this letter that said that, in 17 they established that it's someone who Peter's never seen before. So I just thought about that for a second. Who's somebody in the Spider-Man comics at this point who Peter has never seen before, and who had a mysterious headache and cold the same night that the Green Goblin had to crash a fan club meeting?
Could
Sally
it be
Averill?
Lily Hollister?
Mary Jane?
Mary Jane!
You'll pay for this, Osborn. No, you'll pay. So much is spliced together Christopher Daniel Barnes' dialogue, like, you'll pay for this, Mary Jane! If I have to track you down forever, you'll pay!
I mean, I just randomly thought of it, because who has Peter not met that's like an established character? Oh my god.
That would work. That would work. If there were such a thing as a female cross-dressing supervillain at this point.
Yeah, that dresses up as the Goblin. Okay. Yeah,
Wait a minute.
that romances Harry Osborn, but makes a play for Peter. Okay.
The thick plottins, as they say. The special announcements lets us know that Captain America would be getting his own strip in Tales of Suspense, replacing the nearly terrible Watcher strip. I don't know if y'all have ever read any of those old Watcher stories, but
they were awful.
They were pretty bad. Because basically, the Watcher was a framing character who would, introduce a 50s style horror story.
Or a really bad sort of sci-fi story that wants to be the Twilight Zone, but just isn't.
Just isn't.
Yeah.
We do have ads for the Amazing Spider-Man Annual, which of course we've talked about, as well as the Marvel Tales Annual. We talked about those at length last time. And one thing I didn't say before, though, and it might be worth mentioning, is that besides Spider-Man, the Marvel Tales Annual also had origin story reprints for the Hulk, Giant Man and the Wasp, Thor, Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos, and Iron Man. But by now we also had the second Fantastic Four Annual on sale, which would feature Doctor Doom's origin and backstory, as well as a big confrontation between him and the Four, featuring his final victory. So it's a pretty cool annual also out this year.
That blurb is such a lie. It was not his final victory.
I was about to say, for 1964, that's what we've been reading for the last 45 years.
It's his twin brother.
Well, if I recall, Reed tricked him into
Vincent
thinking that he
Pompey.
won. He got into this, mind duel with Reed, and then he got tricked into thinking that Reed, vaporized himself.
Yeah, they did leave Doctor Doom off the table for a while after this story, almost a year.
Which, that story works in the 60s, but not in, 2010, where he'd be able to go onto the internet in Latveria and see that, the Fantastic Four is still at large.
Or just watch the news.
Yeah.
And that wraps us up, both for our discussion of issue 17 and also for this episode of Amazing Spider-Man Classics. I want to thank everyone for their patience in waiting for this long-delayed episode. It was not due to a lack of effort, believe me. We have been trying to get episodes out for a while, and there were just so many scheduling conflicts, but the positive note is that in the last couple weeks we have recorded several episodes worth of material. So I'll be getting those out to you over the next few weeks. In the past, we've tried to do 3 episodes a month, and at this point we have basically missed a month. And I'm not going to try to catch that up with doubling up on episodes. So these next 3 episodes, featuring our guest co-host Stephen Lacey, will come out over the course of September. And then we have more goodness in October, and surprise guest co-hosts galore. If you'd like to contact the show, let us know what you think of the episodes or of the books that you're reading. You can write us in at amazingspidermanclassics@gmail.com. If you'd like to follow news for the show, you can do so at the Facebook page for the show. Just do a search for Amazing Spider-Man Classics and join that group. Also, there is the Libsyn page. And I was reminded recently by a friend that I have never spelled Libsyn. I just taken it on faith that you all know what I'm talking about. A lot of podcasts are hosted at libsyn.com, which is spelled L-I-B, like library, and S-Y-N, like syndication. Libsyn. And you can find our website at amazingspiderman.libsyn.com. Also at that website, I have been writing a blog covering the X-Men books from this same era. So if you'd like to follow along with the X-Men adventures in sync with the Spider-Man adventures, I'm just a little bit behind, but I am almost caught up to those being completely in sync. So do give a try there at the same website, amazingspiderman.libsyn.com. We will have coverage of issues 18 and 19 in the next episode, filling out the trilogy involving Spider-Man quitting his costume for the very first time. So please join us again, and thank you for listening to Amazing Spider-Man Classics. Good night.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Is he strong? Listen, bud, he's got radioactive blood. Can he swing from a thread? Take a look overhead. Hey there goes the Spider-Man. In the chill of night, at the scene of a crime, like a streak of light, he arrives just in time. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Wealth and fame, he's ignored. Action is his reward to him. Life is a great big hang-up. Wherever there's a hang-up, you'll find the Spider-Man.
This issue has taken us the longest to discuss. Some issues take us a few hours. This one took us weeks.
Right.
The record was 7 hours. The last time we sat down and we're talking about page 5 and 6 were 21 days ago.
Exactly.
John, did you have to make me stay awake for all of it? I'm seeing dead Spider-Mans crawling around on my ceiling.
I'm surprised you have enough coffee, dude.
I think at this point, if I cut myself, I'd just be dripping rich roast blend.
The things we do for you people.